Hi everyone, welcome to our first video on our APUSH series, Unit 1, Exploration and Colonization of the Americas. Okay, so to begin, Native American societies formed first around 15,000 years ago when the Bering Land Bridge was formed from Asia and North America. This later led to the gradual spread of people across North and South America, thus adapting to different environments. These people shifted from hunter-gatherers to agricultures, and maize, or corn, was a vital point in this process, thereby transforming them into permanent settlements and more complex societies. Three complex societies that we should mention and are rather important are the Mayan civilization, Aztecs, and Incas. To begin with, the Mayans, they are located in modern-day southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras. It's mostly comprised of city-states that were each ruled by kings. They also had advanced writing systems called glyphs. They focused on astronomy, had calendar systems, and they invented the concept of zero through mathematics. Next, we have the Aztec Empire, located in modern-day Mexico at its capital at Tenochtitlan. The myth of the founding of Tenochtitlan is a very interesting story that I would recommend reading about. It was, in comparison to the Mayans, a more centralized empire that was ruled by an emperor, and it was a highly organized military society that relied on a tribute system. Some engineering feats include the chinapas, or the floating gardens, for agriculture purposes. Then we have the Incan Empire, which is located in modern-day Peru, Ecuador, Chile, in the Andes Mountains. It was a highly centralized empire ruled by a Sapa Inca. It built advanced road and bridge systems that stretched for thousands of miles. For farming, it had terrace farmings for mountain ranges, and a famous invention of theirs is the quipu, which was record keeping with knotted strings. One thing is, all of these civilizations all had a polytheistic religion, and each had their own different sets of beliefs. So, with all of these Native American groups, each is diverse based on their own region. For example, we can separate the Native Americans in North America with the Great Plains, Northeast, Great Basin, and Western civilizations. The Plain tribes were more nomadic, focused on buffalo hunting. The Eastern woodlands focused on farming and hunting. Southwest had irrigation farming, like the Pueblo. This is all very general and doesn't include all Native American groups. It's just a general categorization. So, on Native American culture, this is a more detailed analysis. We see the Pacific Coast, Southwest Plains, and Eastern Woodland groups of Native Americans, each focusing on their own agricultural or housing advancements based on their environment. For example, we can take the Pacific Coast people. We see that their main source of food were fish, salmon, cod, shellfish, mainly all from fishing on the West Coast. Then compare it to, say, the Southwest Native American groups, which more so relied on corn, beans, squashes, and also built housing in more dry and arid areas in comparison to the Pacific. So these are all different groups that were founded based on their environment. Now then, we can discuss the European exploration of North America and South America. The three main reasons for European exploration can come down to the three G's: God, gold, and glory, which basically means the spread of Christianity, the desire for wealth, such as gold, spices, trade routes, and glory in general. European exploration of the Americas was done through an advancement in technology, naval technology, maps, shipbuilding, and printing press, which made the exploration of the Americas a lot easier. A key figure of this movement was Christopher Columbus, who set sail for India in 1492 to find himself in the Americas, thus beginning the age of European exploration. So here's a map of the European exploration and conquest of the New World. We should mention that this desire for new trade routes began after the Ottoman takeover of Constantinople that cut off the previous Silk Road trade routes that Europeans mainly relied on, thus forcing them to seek alternatives. Christopher Columbus was the one that pioneered the journey westwards into the Atlantic Ocean, expecting India only to find himself in modern day North America, thus beginning this process of European exploration. The first country that really took advantage of this would be Spain. Spain, with with famous explorers such as Hernan Cortez, who famously defeated the Aztecs, and Francisco Pizarro, who defeated the Incas. They colonized the majority of modern day Latin America, as well as parts of modern day America as well. Other countries that were also involved in this process of colonization would be Portugal, colonizing modern day Brazil, England, who were a bit late but colonized the east coast of the US, France, who colonized modern day Canada, and this was mainly done through their advantages in guns, steel weapons, horses, which were all advanced technologies that native societies didn't have, and the spread of disease was massive in defeating these massive empires such as the Incas and Aztecs. Now, for the Columbian Exchange, the Columbian Exchange was basically an exchange of goods, people, and ideas between the old and new worlds. The Europeans mainly benefited from this because of the spread of new foods, crops that all came globally. However, this Columbian Exchange did kill millions of Native Americans who were now exposed to disease such as smallpox and measles, of which were completely foreign to them, which had a devastating effect, killing 90% of Native Americans. When discussing Spanish relationships with the natives, the Spanish had this system called the encomienda system, where Spanish settlers given were given land and control over natives, and natives were forced to work in exchange for protection and conversion into Christianity. This basically just created an enslavement of farms and mines, which heightened the death of Native Americans, and was also the example towards the rise of African chattel slavery that will come decades later. The caste system was also an important Spanish social construct that they created. It was a social hierarchy that was based on race, which basically puts, as the image suggests, the peninsulares, which were Spanish-born citizens, at the top of the pyramids, then with the Creoles, Mestizos, Mulattoes, Africans, and Native Americans at the very bottom. This basically just gave limited rights for natives and mixed populations. The clash of cultures. So basically, although European colonization of the Americas and their poor treatment of them was considered fine by many, it was also considered very brutal to others. One of the main instances of political and military resistance against the Spanish came from the Pueblo Revolt in 1680, also known as Pope's Rebellion against the Spanish missionary system. Despite the successes of the Pueblo in deterring Spanish colonial attempts into the region, the Spanish would later come back and colonize the regions decades later. However, this still serves as a vital example of Native American resistance towards Europeans. Another important figure was priest Bartolomeo de las Casas, who fought against the Spanish encomienda system and debated and argued others against the justification of the subjugation of natives and Africans. And all of this, although impactful, was futile in determining the fates of many Native Americans and Africans that would later be shipped into the Spanish colonies in the Americas. And that's where we'll leave it for now. Next time we'll be discussing the beginning of English colonization to the Americas, as well as French and other Europeans. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you later.